Brian Wilson, Mary Catherine Ham, Brian Neiman, today's newsmakers, and you, the Morning Majority.
105.9 WMAL. We got the Comptroller of Maryland coming up 1 hour from now, Peter Franchot. We'll ask him about the fiscal state of the state and all the different taxes that apparently the governor wants to impose on residents. That's 1 hour from now. Also, Brett Baer in the 8 o'clock hour. Michael Steele a half hour from now, the former head of the RNC. Ambassador John Bolton is on the line now. Good morning, Mr. Ambassador. Good to have you back.
Good morning. Glad to be with you.
Well, you made some news this week with an endorsement. Now, a lot of people thought, since Newt Gingrich said he would make you his Secretary of State, that maybe you would go that way, but you instead went with Mitt Romney. Explain why you were endorsing Mitt Romney at this point.
Well, I think Governor Romney is the candidate who really has the combination of skills and background, philosophy, and electability that we need to defeat Barack Obama this November. And I regard this as much more than just an election campaign. This is really about the entire future of the country. And what I tried to do was apply the Bill Buckley test of selecting the most conservative candidate who could get elected. And obviously, that's always a matter of individual judgment, but for me, it was pretty clear that was Mitt Romney.
So it sounds like you're endorsing Romney, but you're still holding your nose a little.
No, I don't think so at all. I mean, as I said when I first announced it, looking at the entire field of prospective candidates, there was only one who suited my view of the perfect conservative, and for reasons best known to himself, he decided not to run.
You're talking about yourself, of course. And on a follow-up on that, aren't you sort of sorry you didn't get in?
Well, not really. I don't usually look back, although a number of political types have told me, if I had gotten in, I'd probably be ahead by now since everybody else has had their...
You would have had your surge.
That's why you would have had your moment to surge there.
Absolutely.
So how do you, on the foreign policy front, you're very comfortable with Mitt Romney?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at what he has laid out over the years in books and speeches, I've had a number of conversations with him over the years on issues ranging from arms control to Iraq and Afghanistan, and I think he's very solidly conservative. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Moreover, he has had executive experience as being governor, as being a business executive, and I think that's important. I think Obama demonstrates what happens. I mean, among other things he has done wrong, when you put somebody in charge of the executive branch of the federal government who doesn't have a clue how to run something. It's one thing to give a speech that says, I want to go from A to B. That's great. That's a statement of intention. It's another thing to be able to get from A to B. Mm-hmm. And Obama's great at giving speeches. He can't get from A to B.
Do you think there's a reckoning coming on Iran this year? Like during the campaign season, that they're going to have to wrestle with? I
think it's entirely possible. I think a lot of the belligerence that you've seen from Iran in the past few weeks, the threat to close the Strait of Hormuz, the conviction of this American accused of being a spy, and an increase, I think, in Iranian subversive activity in Iraq, in Afghanistan, and elsewhere, all has to be seen in the context of Iran's nuclear weapons program. And they are very close to achieving that objective they've been after of getting a nuclear weapon. Defense Secretary Panetta said last month that he thought Iran could have a weapon within a year. Now, he's obfuscated that a little bit since, but in fact, Iran could have a weapon in less than a year. This is a question of how much effort do you put into achieving that objective. If you put more resources in, you can achieve it more quickly. And I think everybody understands that. I think in particular, Israel understands it, and that's why the spotlight will be on Israel over the next 12 months as they make a decision. Will they do what they've done before and prevent a hostile state from getting a nuclear weapons
let me ask
capability?
You this. Are they already doing that? I mean, has the war already begun? I mean, we are seeing, obviously, scientists who have been killed, assassinated, however you want to call it, in Iran for the last couple of months. There's a lot of back and forth, obviously, some cyber attacks.
Mysterious blasts at certain facilities within the nation of Iran.
I guess there are different kinds of warfares you can have. Is this a CIA or a spy war that's already taking place?
Right. Well, as the Marxists used to say, these are not coincidences, comrades. Somebody's clearly up to something, and I think that's fine. I'm all in favor of it. But I think realistically, the assassinations, the bomb attacks, the Stuxnet virus, are not enough to stop Iran from getting a nuclear weapon. They're too close to it. It's not like you need scientists to do theoretical work. They know exactly what they need to do, and they just have to continue with it. And I think I was disturbed by Hillary Clinton's reaction 2 days ago when she went out of her way to say that the United States had no involvement with the killing of this most recent Iranian nuclear scientist, because I think that's a reaction that shows fear of Iranian retaliation. And if I were in Tehran, I would say to myself, if they're afraid of that, imagine how much we can intimidate them once they get nuclear weapons.
Well, if you were Secretary of State, what would you have said? Would you just said nothing? We're not
yeah, I mean, I think this is a bigger than a bread box question. The United States denies it, Great Britain denies it, Israel says nothing. Well, what does that tell you?
Yeah.
And I don't think outing your allies like that because of fear of Iranian retaliation makes any sense. I think this administration is reaping what it sowed. It has put 3 years of effort into trying to find a way to chit-chat Iran out of its nuclear weapons program. It was never going to work, and now the evidence is increasingly clear that they've failed, and I think they're panicked, and they should be panicked.
I almost hate to go into this story because it's so distasteful, but this story of the 3 Marines who were urinating on the dead bodies that has been out there for the last few days, it just offends the sensitivities of any normal functioning human being. Do you have any thoughts on that and what the ramifications of that might be?
Well, I think there's no excuse for it. It's obviously a breakdown of discipline. I don't care who the enemy is. I don't think you desecrate dead bodies. It doesn't make any difference to me that Taliban and others do terrible things to dead Americans. It just proves how contemptible they are. We shouldn't match them. I think at the same time, there's no obligation on our part to be an advertising agency for the Taliban's grievances. I think you find out what the facts are, and I think there's still some facts to be uncovered. If it's appropriate, you discipline the individuals involved, and you put it behind us. You don't send out the video. You don't give added pictures. You don't treat it like we did Abu Ghraib. I think this is very unfortunate. It's a reflection on us, but it's a reflection of a few undisciplined individuals, and that's what I think we have to keep in mind.
One last campaign question. Are you going to be a full-fledged surrogate and on the trail for Romney?
Well, I'm going down to South Carolina today to join him at a meeting of veterans. Senator McCain will be there, and I'm certainly more than willing, if it would be helpful to the Romney campaign, to help out really any way I can.
All right, Mr. Ambassador, always good to have you on. Thanks very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Well, thanks again for having me.